Hello! In this video I'm going to cover terrain and objective setup for Age of Fantasy Regiments. Okay, let's go! The core rules are divided between 5 and 10 pieces of terrain. It is good to have a wide range to choose from. Difficult terrain, dangerous terrain, and impassable terrain. The core rules don't provide any guides on how to set terrain up. A good idea is to pool the terrain available and have players roll off, and the winner chooses a piece to set up first, then alternate until there is an agreed amount of terrain on the table. From here the table can be set up in a symmetrical fashion. This will help create a more balanced encounter. The other method is to try to create a plausible landscape that has been fought over. This adds a level of realism to your games. When setting terrain up, it's worth bearing in mind that terrain is set up before players roll for deployment zones. This could mean that you end up with a deployment zone cluttered with terrain. It's a good idea to view a battlefield as having 2 flanks and a centre. Putting terrain on a flank allows for a flanking force to be screened as it advances. A large terrain piece in the centre of the battlefield can make for an interesting game, as it forces both players to split their forces. Now that the terrain is set up, it's time for players to see how many objectives are being fought over. The game will have either 3 or 5. Again, as these are set up before players roll for deployment zones, it is worth bearing in mind that making them too easy or hard could backfire. With that said, if possible, try to put an objective within short distance of both deployment zones. Doing so allows a chaff unit of yours to achieve something early on, and if your foe hasn't taken any chaff, this may dictate their deployment. As objective markers are only lost if an enemy unit goes in 3 inches, remember that units don't need to camp on them. Reflect on your list and what it can and can't achieve. Also, look at the terrain setup. If your force can survive a protracted combat, place objectives in a location that force the opponent to engage with your unit. If your units are more fragile, place the objective markers into areas of terrain that provides cover. If you don't have a lot of units, try placing objective markers close by. This way, one of your units can grab several objectives. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, leave a comment below. The next video in the series will cover army lists. As always, I'll put a link in the description below where you can download the rules for Age of Fantasy Regiments. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.